be educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before.
Hello. Hi. Welcome back to the Clinically Average Podcast. I'm your host. What's so funny?
Nothing.
I'm doing the intro.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to tell them that I'm Wolf, and you're my heterosexual life partner, Patrick.
It's me.
And we're here to discuss a bunch of cool big brain things and have a cool discussion. Maybe they're going to learn something from it.
What are we discussing?
But you're just going to laugh because I paused for a minute trying to get an intro out. I was going to tell them that welcome to episode 6, the part 2 of Love and Infatuation.
Part 2.
And if they didn't already see episode 5, part 1 of Love and Infatuation, they should probably go watch that.
Probably.
But now I'm going to be real passive aggressive because now I'm stuck in this bit that I can't get out of.
You're being mostly actually aggressive.
Yeah, real aggressive. I'm not even passive about it.
You seem like you're really pent up.
A little bit.
Like maybe you need to go take care of something.
Like what?
Maybe you need to...
My car. My oil needs change.
That's what's causing all this? All right.
Yeah. But, I mean, for real, though, if you haven't seen episode 5, that's going to be part 1 to this 2-part series.
You really should catch up. We established core characters, set up everyone's backstory. You're going to be lost.
There's a lot of world building in part 1.
A lot of world building, a lot of lore, a lot of key lore that you'd be missing out on. Yeah. Tom Brady's the main character. So, like, you're not going to know what's going on.
Get it together, okay?
So you go listen / watch / read
here
about that one, then come back, and
Pause.
we'll be right here.
Pause here, and we'll wait.
Thank you.
All right, now that you're all caught up, we can dive right into part 2.
All right, so we're going to kick this off in our search to figure out the delineation between actual love and infatuation. We're going to try and get a little closer to giving answers for this.
We've been doing the research, putting in the man hours, and I think we almost have it figured out.
I think we are on to something here.
Okay, so what are we on?
We're going to start off with the concept of the 3-month rule.
What is the 3-month rule?
Okay, so it's generally agreed upon that the honeymoon phase of a relationship is 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Where everything's rainbows, just sunshine, good thoughts, good vibes only.
Masked by infatuation?
Because it can be either. We try to discover, like, you feel similarly. It's just delineating what it is.
We don't even know what it is.
But if you look at the idea of the 3-month rule is essentially looking at the first 3 months of your relationship as like a trial period, and like you pay $9.99 a month for Spotify and like Netflix. I'm not sure what Netflix is, but you can get a trial period for those things. So it's like people do the trial. It's like that's a very minimal cost that you still take a trial period on. Why not take a trial period on something that could affect the rest of your life?
Costs you little to no resources to invest in for this first little section, but it could be great. It could be you could find out it's worth putting tons of resources in.
Yes, or you can find this is something I should probably avoid and not dump all my resources in.
Okay.
For the low cost of, just paying attention for the first 3 months.
And whatever 2 for $25 at Applebee's costs. They really get you with that. They say $25, but it ends up my bill's like $30.
Yeah, I know.
So we use this in the beginning of the relationship as that little trial period, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now that because everyone's listened to the first part of this podcast,
obviously,
episode 5. So this kind of works into those attachment styles. Mm-hmm. Okay. So why don't we walk through those? What are we seeing? What are we seeing out of those different attachment styles in this trial period? Or what are we looking for? What are we doing with the 3-month rule?
Well, I would look at it as I think the thing is the only people who are looking at it as a 3-month trial period are secure attached Tom Brady folks.
Okie dokie.
So I'm imagining when they go approach this situation, they are okay. So they've identified they feel something for this person.
Okay.
I'm interested. I'm gonna go forward and see what happens.
I'm feeling something and reacting in a certain way.
But now in the 3-month period, they are taking into account pros and cons. You know, what are their values? Do we align on these things? Are there some things that are like probably going to get in the way if we don't sort them out? Are there some irreparable differences? Like they're feeling something, but they're also looking at it logically.
Okay.
If you have anxious avoidant, I think you are inherently not doing that. You are just kind of going off pure emotion. As I describe it, you're going off pure emotion, too much caffeine, and the fear of dying alone. That's what's driving you in this first 3 months. Like, oh my God, I found somebody I can be with. I'm not going to die alone. You know, I'm going to ignore. But when you're in that mindset, you're absolutely ignoring red flags.
So you're just disregarding them.
You're
100%.
You were
not
completely
worried about it.
disregarding
I
it.
know I love this person.
Yeah, like obviously I feel a thing, so why would I not just keep going for it all in 100%? And it's like, that sounds romantic. That sounds cool. We've all been there. But I do think you need to introduce a little rationalizing, a little bit of logic when you're approaching this situation because you aren't committed to a person in the first 3 months. You shouldn't be. You barely know them.
That's fair.
Because like, the idea I talk about here is like everyone, especially in the dating phase, in the very early dating phase, you're seeing people so little compared to how you would. Like you're not living, assume you're not living together. Because if you're living together in the first 3 months, that you're run by pure infatuation there because you are casting all logic out the window. If you're,
Right.
I just met this person, now I want to live with them and start a family and do all these things. Like that's insanity.
It's a red flag if they're trying to move in on date 2.
Yeah, big red flag. There's something going on there, and you need to take that into account. But like if you're meeting once a week for a date, it is so easy to be on your best behavior, even if you're just a normal person and you are not a manipulator, you're not a psycho, you're not an abuser or some like corny white knight nice guy. Like those people can also be on their best behavior if you're seeing them once a week.
Once a week for a few hours.
Yeah, for a couple months. Like you can be a choir boy, you can be Mother Teresa, you can be all the things that person wants you want them to be. You can project yourself if you're not being honest.
Yeah.
Or if you are being honest, the two of you can see that and take that into account that you think this person's being genuine. But you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
In that
don't know
stage,
this person,
like
you just met them.
yeah. So like for anyone to like jump in like I'm balls to the wall on this one, or whatever the female equivalent of balls to the wall is, you know, clams to the ram. I don't know. Like it's
That's
just
violent.
like you just
That's so violent.
like you're just ramming the clam against the wall.
God.
Ramming the clam against the wall.
Clam slam.
You're clam slamming it.
I don't ever want to see that. I'm never going to Google that later tonight.
I think if either one of you are doing that soon, maybe some unhealthy attachment issues going on there. You know,
Overtaken by the infatuation.
overtaken by the infatuation.
Letting the lust
So
take over.
that is letting the lust drive the car. That's the feeling brain driving the car. Your car is a clown car at this point because it's
Well,
just.
the feeling brain is always in control. It's just the logic brain tries to.
Well, yeah, the feeling brain is always in control, but your thinking brain is supposed to try and steer it and make suggestions
Where to go.
as best you can. Like,
We're just slamming things around.
but when you're in infatuation mode, it's really hard to steer that ship.
It's really hard to make those, Google Drive suggestions.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think that's the thing where Tom Brady's doing this. He's coming in calm, calculated, watching the tape. Like after each date, he's watching the tape,
Doing a research.
taking notes, looking over the playbook.
Him and Bill Belichick just sitting there dissecting it.
And he's planning on what to do the next week, how we go about this, and like thinking like, oh, what are some questions I can ask? What are some things to look out for? But if you're in the throes of infatuation and you have an anxious or avoidant attachment style, you ain't watching tape. You're procrastinating. You're going in last minute, just
You're
blind.
Done.
You're going in
bud.
blind.
You're done, bud.
So like you might go in hot and might have a really good early season, but by the time playoffs roll around, you are probably going to be not quite making the cut. You're going to be 8-8, maybe not getting in on a bye week.
Wild card at best.
Yeah.
So this is that idea of we need to effectively use this time to discern whether to make our best interpretation about this person, right? So we want to know, okay.
If you want to take it if you want to take it to the next stage, do you want to actually purchase this subscription?
Yeah. So, but can we use that infatuation, that lust, as that first indicator? Because we talked about in the last episode about, well, if I'm just not having that feeling, if I jump right to the pros and cons, maybe this person is awesome on paper, but I'm just not having that visceral reaction.
I would say at that point, okay, so there's
So that, I mean, well, I guess I was getting at that is just the first indicator, but then after that, we got to be Tom Brady. We got to think. We got to look. We got to digest the situation, and we got to dissect it.
So there's two ways I think I'm looking at it. We talked about in the first episode where like I feel like either way there should be some kind of feeling
Right.
in the beginning, whether it turns out to just be infatuation, like you were just something about this person caught your interest, and upon further review, maybe it was just infatuation or lust. The thing that I think threw me off a lot in the last year of like dating was going to the situation we just described, where like I can look at this person and say, I find them attractive. They have a lot of pros, more pros than cons, but I'm not feeling anything. And like some people I talk to, and I talk like, oh, well, just make the choice, just do it. I'm like, it doesn't feel right. But the argument some people would say is, and I think there's some validity to it. We talked about trauma bonds and stuff in the previous episode. That maybe, I think some people do have a type, and that type can be dictated by previous traumas.
Okay.
So you could go, and maybe this person's just not typically your type. And you can look at it on paper, and people can tell you, hey, that'd be a good match for you, but you're not feeling anything because you're trauma bonded to a different type of person.
Okay.
Now that makes things very difficult and very murky to deal with, because it's like at that point, should you just make the choice and maybe see how this goes with somebody who you don't typically go for? Or is there some kind of like healthy level you can find where, hey, this person is sparking my interest, and I don't think they're quite, it's not because they're the same as the person I dated in the past that ended badly.
Okay.
But I do think a lot of people have a type. And usually that type, if you look at it, is attached to some kind of like trauma. I want to do more research on it in a further episode about the concept that people date their parents.
Okay. Because I hear a lot about this whenever you get into discussions about dating and looking for a mate, and isn't like people are like attracted, subconsciously attracted to some version of their parent.
Yeah, like I think people don't want to go down the travel because it sounds kind of incestuous, but it's not like that. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's not like,
oh, I want to hook up with this person. They look like my mom, or they look like my dad. Like I don't think that's
my girlfriend looks like my mom, dude.
Which I have seen that sometimes in like the past, where like, hey, that person's dating someone, they look a lot like their one parent. Like you don't, but it's the thing. It's like classic, like the daddy issue thing, where it's like typically the girl had a terrible relationship with her dad,
Yeah.
and she'll date people who like remind her of her father, who is objectively to her a bad person. Like whether
terrible to me.
they'll date like a person like either if it's appearance or they maybe share personal characteristics that are of that person, and it's like that's very off-put when you think about it. That's dark.
Yeah.
Like, that's
That's
dark.
very dark.
And like it's same with I don't want to focus on women with like the daddy issues, because there's plenty of examples of men with mom issues where like a lot of men will go for, if they have maybe like a weird relationship with their mom, like maybe a neglectful mother.
Yeah.
That they'll fall in love with a woman who's very, if it's not appearance wise, but like is kind of cold and neglectful, like their mom.
These are kind of like the, we talked about.
They have to
before.
earn the love. It's like they're trying to earn the love of their parent through a partner.
Okay.
So like they couldn't win their dad's affection or win their mom's affection, so they'll find somebody who is similarly withholding with affection,
Like
and they'll
win this
win
time.
that person over. And it's like winning. It's like getting back at their parents.
Like the revenge play.
But then you also see, you take it a step further. I've heard this concept where I think this is for people who are a little more malicious, maybe a little more disordered, where they'll get somebody and then they'll like punish them because they're like punishing their parent.
Oh, we talked before about it's like if you see your parents like in a bad situation, and then like that person will go and get with somebody, and then maybe things get a little rocky, or you go through a bad period, and then they discard that person and just be like, see, mom, see how you do this.
Yeah, 'cause they were
see
in
how
a-
easy this is to do.
This is how you get rid of an abusive person in your life.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's probably not even the case. They just kind of made an example of a person who had no idea they were in some kind of weird fucking game.
Yeah. It's just like,
You get caught up in someone else's like parent trauma issues.
and because it's just like they're trying to prove a point to their parent, but then someone else, like, now someone's cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, there is a point. Maybe it is
And
bad.
this stuff is okay. So to tie this back to the topic, because we kind of went on a tangent there.
Yeah.
I do think, having now been through what I've been through and done the research I've done, you can see a lot of these warning signs very early on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so we talk about attachment styles. If you go out on a date, you can spot you can spot an anxious attachment style very easily.
Mm-hmm.
I qualified it as like oversharing, trauma bond.
Oversharing, trauma bonding.
They will try to find commonality in trauma and abuse you have both suffered, and then bond over that.
Yeah.
And that can lead you to some. It's not always bad to talk about your shared trauma, but I think building a relationship based on that very early on can be a red flag, if I'm just going to call it out there. Like, that's probably not a good way to start.
No. Oh, what the hell? I'm looking for my notes. Got to pull my notes app back up. Okay. To get this back on track. We're in our 3-month period.
Yeah.
We're using this to discern.
You want to look for that kind of stuff where, is this something that's like healthy and manageable, or is this a bit extreme and probably not something I can fix? And like with the anxious thing like that, if they're like oversharing and becoming that close with you that soon, that's a big sign that there's going to be a lot of codependency going on there.
Because in codependency is in the point of they are looking for someone. Like, I guess in a way they're being upfront about it, right? Because they're looking, hey, I need a higher level, more, maybe excessive amount of emotional support.
Emotional reassurance.
And I'm going to need this consistently from you, and here's why. And here, right up front, in this free trial, this is what you're signing up for. I'm going to need this.
Yeah, I'm going to need, and it's like, so yeah. And you can, if you're in the secure Tom Brady seat, you can assess that. Like, is this something I think I can handle or want to deal with? And like, what's the severity of it? Or do I not think I'm cut out for that job?
But again, in your 3-month trial, like we said, it's easy to put that mask on. So how many of these people who are looking for this codependency, like you said, it's easy.
If you're looking for it.
If you're looking for it.
If you're not looking for it, I think you can just confuse this for like intimacy, or like, we're soul bonding. Oh, we're twin flames. Oh, we're meant to be together because we just understand each other so much. You can start pulling that shit on people.
So not only do you need to be on the lookout for these things, you need to have this information on you so you can make these distinctions.
Because if you don't know anything about this stuff and you go and you just start like, you'll find yourself accidentally trauma bonding with somebody, and then it starts feeling like it starts feeling like you're like star-crossed lovers. We were meant to meet. Wow, no one's ever talked to me like this. No one's ever seen me like this.
Yeah.
It's like that's a very dangerous situation to get yourself into, because that's compelling. Mm-hmm. Spoken as somebody who's been in that and did not know that's what was happening. That's very compelling, and you can really attach yourself to somebody in that situation.
And just on the idea of just like, wow, they're really laying it all out there and opening up for me, and they really want me to know this.
And as somebody like me who, like, we have a podcast where we're talking about deep things, I appreciate a very deep conversation. I appreciate opening up and being transparent. Trust me. But like, there's a distinction between doing that. It's like, what's the intention behind that? And a lot of times, like we say, it's subconscious. So I'm not going to even sit here and say that the person doing this is being malicious or trying to manipulate you, but sometimes they are.
Yeah.
But this is definitely a thing that can trap you, and then you'll feel emotionally responsible for a person, and it speeds up the commitment level past what it should be at that early stage. where you're just trying to get to know somebody, but the next thing you know, like it's like 2 or 3 weeks in, and you're like, we're soulmates.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm a little jaded and cynical from my past experiences. That's a valid criticism people can say, but I do think you are setting yourself up for a big, big heartbreak if that's what you're building the relationship on. Is, oh, you got hurt? Oh, I got hurt too.
Let's be hurt together.
Now let's be emotionally responsible for one another. It's like, yes, you want to have some level of emotional responsibility for your partner, but I think if you get to a position where you are the sole, like
that's a huge task to put on.
Like, especially considering most of us are barely able to hang on and like emotionally support ourselves 24/7.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a big task to dump that on. Not dump it. Even ask somebody to do that.
It's like, yeah, I know you.
100%. Like if your partner is going to be the only outlet that you actually have.
Yeah.
For like these kind of things.
Like they don't have any friends or like, you know.
It's like you got to dice that up, and like I dice that up between, you know, people I'm talking to, a number of my other friends, some of my family. It's like you can't.
These are things you can look for in these 3 months where it's like, and make an assessment of it.
Okay.
If you're being a Tom Brady about it. And I would say up until recently, no, I was not a Tom Brady about it. So like, I say these things not to try and sound like a pompous asshole who's like on a soapbox, like, oh, you look out for these things. No, it's because I was in that situation and I did not use the trial period. I did not go into it. I was going off pure emotion, too much caffeine, fear of loneliness, and dying alone. And, oh, this person's really dumping the trauma on me. Wow, we must be so close. This is so intimate. They'll never betray me.
There's no way.
Because I'm their closest confidant, and I am like their emotional support dog.
They care about me so much that they share this information.
They would never abuse their emotional support dog.
Never. Why would they?
But there's limits, because like, that's what you have to look for. I think there's a healthy level of it. Because let's just be realistic. If we're 32 and dating, chances are you've had some shit happen.
Yeah.
You're not 32 single with kids dating if you haven't had some bad experiences. So it can be a very intimate thing to connect over it. But it's complicated.
What's the flip side of that? Love bombing?
Well, it's kind of what it is. It's a form of love bombing.
Okay. So the sharing of the traumatic experiences and the trauma bonding attempts.
Because then it's also getting you to reveal a lot of your insecurities and your weaknesses. And
what do they have? What are the gaps in their armor?
Yes, so that you're pretty much revealing the playbook on how to completely destroy you. In a way, in a manner of speaking. And it's like, this is to assume, and I know it sounds cynical to say that, like the people you're talking to are supervillains in a fucking Marvel movie. Yeah. But when you've dealt with people who do use that against you, it does kind of change your perspective, and you do kind of put boundaries and walls up, which I think are healthy even if you've never been abused. You should probably find some boundaries and have some walls. Yeah. Because there are people who will manipulate you, and they will come disguised as sheep or wolf in sheep's clothing and use that against you. So it's definitely good to go in and be discerning about these things. And you should always be discerning. That's the thing. Like, whether you've been abused or traumatized, you should always be discerning. Yeah. So the 3-month period thing is like, oh, this sounds so robotic and like not sexy. It's like, but being discerning is to protect you. Yeah. And it's completely reasonable. Not in the avoidant way. We talk about the avoidance where they are putting up almost unrealistic boundaries. But I think it's a very realistic and healthy boundary to just be like, I need to discern this person's emotional well-being level when I'm talking to them. Like, is this person stable? Well, because is this person healthy?
I think about like I've certainly done it to myself. Like the people pleaser is just like, well, this person give me attention. I owe them the world. And I'll look past red flags and they are sharing this with me. They must really care about me.
Yes.
Or they must really want something here because they're giving all this to me. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. It is like, you got to do the work. You got to understand the information. You got to work through that and like Tom Brady. All right. You can't just go in there and try to wing it. It's not going to work. You have to be discerning.
Tom Brady prepared even if they're playing against the goddamn Browns.
Yeah. You have to have a level of calculation.
Him and Belichick are in there watching the film when they're going to play like the last place Browns, the same way they are when they're in the NFC or the AFC Championship.
Doing the work, putting in the man hours, ready to play.
Yeah, so you go in just prepared. It's not about being cold and calculated, but it is like, hey, you got to be discerning. You have to go in with a game day ready.
All right.
But yeah, anything else for that, or should we move on to the next section?
No, I think we have a good.
Because I think this one's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah, use the 3-month rule. Work it in your repertoire.
Yeah, just decide, make a value assessment. You got 3 months to try to see. Don't commit yourself to something, overcommit yourself to something you aren't sure about, or you feel like you are being blindly, emotionally led into it. But the next thing we're going to talk about, I like to describe this as like one of those like concepts where we all experience it, didn't know it had a name for it. One of those kind of things. So like it's like once I describe it, everyone will know what it is, and they probably experienced it to some degree.
But now we have a label for it.
It's like one of those things where like it's like deja vu or stuff like that, where it's like
everybody knows what it is,
but it's like you
but
can't.
No one has a label for it. No one can explain.
It's hard to describe it, but like I felt that sensation before. But
so what is Mimetic Desire?
You make it way harder than it has to be.
I know.
Mimetic Desire.
Mimetic.
Based on the word meme, like like memes online that spread.
Read well.
So the definition of it is after basic needs are satisfied, that being food, sex, safety, and shelter, people move into a realm of desire in which there isn't a biological radar or instincts to guide them. Instead, their radar becomes other people. And like this applies to the culture and society as a whole. But I'm gonna just like filter down to how this can play into relationships. And it's kind of a fancy way. You've heard the phrase like keeping up with the Joneses. Mm-hmm. It's like it's kind of like a scientific way to explain that whole concept. So we've all seen the relationships like online. So this is going to tie into like social media and how it affects relationships, basically. You're in a relationship, maybe you've been in for like 3 or 4 years. It's fall right now, so you're seeing all the cute fall photos come out. Now, what that does, not intentionally from the people who are posting it, they're just having a cute moment with they want to go do cute things and then post them online. But it has an effect on other relationships because people see it and they want their relationship to look that way. Okay. It makes you almost subconsciously take that lens and apply it to your situation. It's like, oh, look, Karen and Brad went out, got those cute pictures. Oh my God. And it's like, now behind the scenes, Karen and Brad's relationship could be an absolute nightmare. It could be the fucking worst.
They could have been fighting and arguing the drive to the photo shoot, arguing the whole way up, and then as soon as the photographer's ready,
yeah, or if the kids are there, the kids are being assholes all the time. They have to wrangle the kids together, and they're like swearing in the car and yell at the kids.
It could just be a god awful, ugly situation, but if you can pull it together and curate this
magical moment,
this one moment, how long does it take a photographer to press a button?
And then your wife is sitting there on Facebook while the house is disheveled, destroyed, kids running everywhere. You're coming home from work and you're tired and you just sit your fat ass on the couch and you start scrolling Facebook and she just sees you sitting there and she's looking at you with disgust as she's looking at her friend and her husband having these cute photos. Wow, that looks perfect. And then she just disgustedly looks around the house at everything. Now, I guarantee you, Karen and Brad are going home to the same. Their typical Tuesday night looks like that also.
It's the exact same situation.
But because they have a cute picture on social media, now you're seeing that and you're applying a lens to your situation that is less than desirable. So you are desiring their relationship, which is probably very much like yours, maybe even worse. But because it looks good on social media, you are now devaluing your situation. And this shit is all like subconscious.
So we see this situation, and now we're devaluing our own situation because of this lens that's been created by someone who's not involved in our relationship at all.
Nope. But you are desiring the image that looks desirable.
Okay.
Because everything else is met. You're good. You're almost like too comfortable. Going back to alive time and dead time. You're in a dead time. Everything's just kind of comfortable. Maybe you're taking everything for granted.
Just cool, calm, collected.
Like you guys are wearing sweatpants and schlubbing around. Maybe you haven't gone out on a fancy date for a couple months, and now it's just everything's very normal.
Yeah.
And then you see something like that, and it sparks some insecurity.
Why don't we do that?
And then it's like but then it starts the next thing. Then you go do it, and as we described, on the way over there, you're fighting and bickering in the car. The kids are being shitheads. You know, you get out there and you can't get the kids wrangled up for a picture, and it's the whole like, but then you stop and smile for that 2 seconds to get the picture.
Yeah.
But like, then you're mad because, oh, we were fighting the whole time, blah, 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 doing all this, and like, as if that wasn't happening with the other couple.
This is supposed to be my big day.
This is my big day. You ruined it because you're. Blah, blah, blah. So it's like it puts this like societal pressure of like this perfect image, and you want to curate this perfect image to put out there because you're not. It's not just about being happy and taken care of in your relationship. It's about also making people be jealous of your situation, to desire what you have.
So this sounds a lot like trying to grab that external validation.
Yes. Even if all, because the definition of mimetic desire is all your needs are being met. Home, shelter, food, sex, everything's taken care of. Everything's, for all intents and purposes, you've checked all the boxes. Things are good.
Yeah.
Now this is all just like extra external validation, but it eats at you if you feel like other people have something that other people want.
Okay.
You like, so like people are coveting Karen and Brad's picture. Wow, look at that couple. But you want people to say the same thing about your couple pictures. So we take it to another example here of like dating. So some people will date people who they think are desirable to other people. So like that person could check all the boxes. Mm-hmm. You love being with that person, but maybe they aren't as typically attractive as, you know, not like, so like when you go out, like they aren't going to be a head turner.
Right.
You got to a party and everybody's going to be trying to like get after your girlfriend.
Okay, so this is like exactly like when I was trying to learn about mimetic.
There you go.
Design. Shit, I did it.
You got a big brain, old wolf.
So proud of me.
You got a big brain.
Mimetic.
You're so
So when I was
smart.
trying to learn about mimetic desire, Google took me down a pathway and gave me this example. So specifically, the example I'm talking about is a college guy gets with a new girlfriend, introduces her to every guy he knows, takes her to all the parties, introduces her to friends, blah, 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 secretly hoping that they will want her too.
Yeah.
When he senses that they don't, he begins to doubt that he has made the right choice. Mm-hmm. Even if they're compatible, like you said, all those boxes are checked. They're having intellectual conversations. He finds her attractive. Mm-hmm. They're compatible. They both like Chinese food, whatever.
Yeah.
They both like the same genres of music. If he isn't getting validated from all the other guys, like, oh man, I can't believe he pulled her. She's so hot. I wish she could be my girlfriend.
Yeah.
If he's not getting that third-party external validation,
It makes him start questioning it.
he questions his own decision.
Could I do better?
Is she the right one?
Mm-hmm. And it's over something very shallow like that because secretly you want the validation of others based on your relation, to like justify your relationship.
You want your cake and the bread to want to eat it too.
Mm-hmm. And to take that, because I read I think the same place you read that, I forget, I think it was like a Nietzsche thing he was talking about it. Was, so like then like the same thing will happen, like the concept, like, because he was telling a story about that thing happening. A guy takes his girl to a party and is like trying to like show her off, but like none of the male guests are like really interested.
Yeah.
And then he ends up breaking it off with her. And then she gets with another man. And once she gets with another man, then he wants her. Just by knowing that someone else wants her, he now wants her more than he did before when he thought no one wanted her. That's mimetic desire. You want what other people want. You desire what other people desire.
So he didn't want her because he wanted her. He wants her because she's desirable in other people's eyes.
Yes, that's why people want like sports cars. That's why they want like things they can show off on Instagram, is because not because they actually want a thing and it's going to bring them any happiness, but they get this little boost of dopamine because other people want what they have.
Okay.
So people do these relationships where they're like go do all the cutesy things because it's like, oh, then people will, and I think a lot of it is subconscious. Like they don't have like a plot and scheming. Oh, if I do this, then people will be jealous of me.
Right.
But this is just like it's subconscious. It's a thing where it's like, that's what's the subconscious reptilian brain is driving that.
I'm also sure there's a level of new age social media that's like influences into this.
Well, yeah, we've kind of been influenced by social media culture to like
Yeah.
just to post the hits.
Yeah. I want.
Most people don't post the bad shit. So like they don't post.
You don't post your failures.
You don't post the living room that's looks like a bomb went off,
Yeah.
and you guys are schlubbing it in sweatpants, and binge watching TV shows. Like no one takes a picture of that and puts it online. But that's how the majority of relationships look most of the time. But when you're like doing that, but then some nights maybe you're a little bit insecure. Maybe you guys had a fight.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there on social media and you see other couples posting like their very curated, perfect evenings out at a fancy restaurant. And then you're like mad at your husband and he's over all schlubbed out with like a stain on his shirt. You're just like, ugh, ew.
But those people at the restaurant, they go back to that.
But yes, that's the thing.
go
Like
back to that
you're not,
exact
but you're
same
not when you're in the
situation.
social media zone. You're not seeing that. You're
Yeah.
not seeing the reality. You're seeing the delusion that we are all sharing. It's a big mass illusion that we post on our social medias, which is why it's so unhealthy.
God, I hate that.
But we're all kind of a part of it, and we keep doing it, and it has so many negative effects on people's like expectations. And Mimetic Desire is like a perversion of your expectations,
Okay.
where it's like you could have every need met. You could be in a great situation that people would actually be jealous of,
Yeah.
but because it doesn't look a certain way, you don't have the right filters on it, you're like taking it for granted and like looking out. You're doing some window shopping now.
Yeah. You're looking elsewhere because you're not getting that validation. So is it really just questioning? But like, why do we question it? I have in my notes here. Like, we want to be secure and mature enough and emotionally intellectual enough. We don't want to get caught up in the notion of that external validation. Why does it matter to you if random people approve of your partner?
I mean, it has to
Is it
stem from
mimetic
some
desire?
level of
Mimetic
insecurity, and I mean, why does anybody look for
Validation.
external validation? Like,
They want to make, they want their choice and their decision to be validated.
like, look, yeah, I'm not going to sit here on my throne and say like, no, but like, everybody wants attention.
Yeah.
Everybody wants some kind of validation, but there's a scale on how much of that is healthy and unhealthy. Like anything you inherently post on social media, I always love these arguments because you'll post something and someone will like call it, oh, somebody needs attention.
Yeah.
Well, you commenting that I need attention is also you looking for attention. You don't understand the hypocrisy of this. If you post on social media, I don't care how cool and blasé you're trying to be, you're doing it for attention.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is. I do it too. If I post something on there, I want somebody to engage with it. That's me looking for attention. Me making a podcast and posting it is looking for attention. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
But like, why are you doing it? Is when it comes down to why do you need this attention or validation? If your attention and validation is to make connections and maybe have meet people or share your art or like, okay, that's what it is, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that.
No.
But let's call it what it is. You're looking for external validation and you're looking for attention. But we make that like it's a negative all the time. It's not always a negative to connect. You're looking to connect with people.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it to make yourself feel better, if like, that's like all you're doing, it's like your only outlet to like get yourself to make yourself feel better, you're living in some kind of delusion. And if you're
that brings a level of ugliness to it.
what's that?
That brings like that level of ugliness to it, because if you're doing it to get the attention for a good reason, fine. But if you're doing it to validate yourself, you're saying like that is.
If your whole existence depends on getting the validation of other people online, then it's
That's a
gone to
bad
a point where it's too unhealthy.
Sure.
If you live a very decent life, you're doing things, but you're also, hey, I feel like sharing this thing. Oh, here's a funny thing I want to share, or here's something I made I want to share, and it's like, okay, you're just engaging. Like, what's the difference? What's the difference of that than you just go, out to a bar or a social gathering and talk to people? Not much of a difference, but like if your whole life is based around,
It's optimized.
you're optimizing. You're adding to your life at that point. If you're already healthy and you're adding to it. But like if that's like your primary source of validation is curating a highly filtered, manicured lifestyle that's not actually real,
Now we have a problem.
now you're living in a delusion and you're using social media as a tool to fuel your delusion.
Some people have season tag. Some people have season passes that do Lululand.
Yeah. And I think it's just delineating like, okay. And also I think it depends on what you're sharing on there. I feel like if you're being inherently disingenuous with what you're sharing, A, you're living in a delusion, and B, you could be causing damage because you're portraying yourself in a perfect light, and there's people who are insecure maybe seeing that, and you are causing this mimetic desire shit.
Okay. Okay, so you're now, as you're seeking your validation, you're now putting stress on someone else.
You're like, devaluing other people. Not, and I said once again, it doesn't have to be not like it's like a malicious thing, but like by you curating this fake persona.
Could be malicious.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but I think a lot of times you're just doing it to get your validation, and it's inherently trying to boost you up. But some people are getting very insecure about it. Women, especially, like I read that book about like young women, the whole like filter thing. Like you can see when filters on it. I mean, do you? But I was reading about like where like teenage girl suicide was like so through the roof because they're getting their phones when they're like 8 to 10 years old and like going through puberty and stuff. And they're already using like filters and stuff at that age, like when your skin isn't blemished and you don't have all these issues and you don't have crow's feet and you don't have wrinkles. Yeah. But the girls are still plastering their pictures up with filters. And they were showing how many girls and girls are already insecure at that age going through their hormonal changes and like how like debilitating and like that is. I mean, that was the problem back in the 90s, like with like magazines and stuff, like beauty magazines and like where like they were like portraying these images women had to, these standards they had to meet to be beautiful.
Okay.
So they're like constantly striving for like this if I get this makeup, if I do my hair this way,
I would look like that.
I'll look like, Brooke Shields or whoever the fuck was like a famous model back then. It's like
I'll look like the person that's been photoshopped.
They've been photoshopped to hell and back. Like Kim Kardashian, like a modern version. They're trying to look like that, but now even just the girl down the street can toss on a filter and make herself look like that, even though she doesn't look anything like that in person. And then she's on Instagram posting a picture of that, and she's getting 100,000 likes, and you're over here just like, what the hell? Like, now I got to do that too to keep up. Yeah. Or not, and then you're gonna feel invalidated because she's getting all this attention and I'm not getting any. I guess you gotta win, you gotta get with them or, get left behind.
Well, especially at a young age, because you don't understand that attention is not a finite source.
But then you can also have the thing, I'm sure kids like bully the shit out of each other these days, like cyberbullying. Yeah. Okay, so how hard would it be to make fun of somebody if they're doing all that stuff online, portraying themselves one way, then you see them in person and they don't look anything like that? Oh. Like you could just rip someone to shreds for that. You could just, you don't look the way you do in those pictures. That has to be terrible.
I can't even imagine.
So like you're doing it because you're insecure, and then someone attacks your insecurity by like cutting through your delusion, which is what you've put up online.
I mean, fortunately enough, we were coming up with an age where technology was like, you couldn't do that because it was about 4 pixels.
Yeah, it wasn't that video. Yeah, go back and try and look at that shit. It's terrifying.
My Nokia flip phone could only get so many pixels.
That's probably one saving grace. We didn't have the technology that we have now back then for a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to, like, I can understand the struggle, but I can't really, attach myself to that. I didn't have a smartphone until I was old enough. Well, I'm still not smart enough to use it. Go have that.
But... So I think we've wrapped up. We got Mimetic Desire. We got it. Like it's a big it's a big concept, but I think
Metatoric.
I think it's like it's a big concept, and it's kind of like fancy words, but like I think people get the idea like what that is. Like you've seen it.
Mimetic. Learn something every day. Huh? Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, anything else you want to add on that topic?
Mimetic.
We've established.
I'm trying to learn, man. I'm trying to be a better person. I can't read.
Even you can't say the word. Do you get what it means?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all that's important.
Okay.
Good. All right. Breathe. We're good. But yeah. Well, I guess if we're done with that, we'll move on to the next one, which we can go back to the 3-month trial. Okay. This will tie into that. So I opened this part with there's a good question if you want to be a Tom Brady and try and see if you're gonna save yourself some therapy in the future.
Okay.
If you want to find out whether this is worth pursuing, this is a big one. I think would be a good red flag tester is ask the person if they believe. I've never done this, but I feel like it would be such a bold thing to do on a first date.
It is pretty bold.
But I feel like if you have the balls to do it, you'll save yourself some time.
I'm
Ask a person if they believe love is conditional or unconditional.
Are you asking me?
I mean, yeah, I'm asking you. What do you think? I mean, I'm sure you've read this, so you already know what I'm going to say. So
Yeah, but I guess unfortunately, we can't play devil's advocate because our views align on this. But all right, my personal opinion on this: you asked me, is love conditional or unconditional?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like true, actual love for another human being, in the sense of whether it's romantic, platonic, or in a friendship, or with your family, I think it has to be unconditional.
Has to be. Doesn't mean it is.
No, it not always is, and especially in all those different aspects and all those different flavors of relationship, it isn't always. My defining factor for it is when it becomes transactional. Now, when I say
Which
that
is conditional.
yeah,
That's literally,
transactional makes it conditional. Those are
that's inherently
Same
the
thing.
definition of conditional love is transactional love.
so. I say it has to be unconditional because I can openly and freely say, and I guess backing up on a point, love is a very heavy word for me. I think it should be for more people. When you say you love something, like you don't love sushi, you're infatuated with sushi.
Yeah.
When I say I love somebody, that carries weight, that carries meaning. For me, that means something like when I say like I love you, because
Aw.
we've been thanks. Because like we've been friends for 15 years, and I don't think things is transactional with us. Whatever I can do for you, I will do for you without the expectation of reciprocation.
Yeah.
Right? I think when we discussed the topic before, I think you used the dynamic of like whenever concert season comes around and you and me just dump all of our money into concerts. It's not I got these tickets, Venmo me $50. It's no, I'll grab 2 tickets, and then next time, I already grabbed these 2 tickets.
Yeah. I'll drive, you drive.
Yeah.
We just kind of like just do it.
Yeah,
At the end of the
it
day,
doesn't matter.
At the end, if we like squared away like, who spent more, who spent less, who drove more, we don't really like tally it up, but
No.
we had a good fucking time doing it.
It's because you and me, and sometimes with our other friends,
Yeah.
we got to go and experience that. Like for Parkway, like I just grabbed 4 tickets. I know
Yeah.
you were going. I know my brother wanted to go. I know our other buddy wanted to go. I don't care. No one Venmoed me anything. But me and my boys got to go, get in the pit, and have a good time.
Yeah.
And if there is a level of, if you do think love is conditional and you are trying to make it transactional, then I guess there's that.
Yeah.
The reciprocation, the transactional reciprocation is that I receive love back from my friends having a good time with me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem transactional to me.
That's unconditional. Like it's like you are loving the experience,
Yeah.
and that's what matters. So I guess we can like dig into. So I think what led me to this, why I found this to be such a illuminating thing when it comes to the relationships and like whether you should pursue it or not, is like what this is built on. Like why would, because I feel like if you ask a lot of people, they might think they believe in unconditional love, because that's just the thing to say. That's the very hallmark, romantic thing to say.
But they couldn't give you a 2-minute monologue like I just did.
Yeah, like they haven't actually thought about it. But I have experienced someone, people in my life who are like they generally don't believe that love is unconditional. That it is inherently conditional, and the way they said it with so much conviction was like that's the right way to look at it. And it's like buddy, looking back at it, that's a dark way to look at the world. And
You're a good capitalist.
so why? And so I had to, let's figure out why people think that way. And once again, let's go back to childhood trauma. That feels insensitive. But so, as a child, love is considered conditional or transactional. Not from the parent's perspective, but as a child, you see the world in black and white. There's not much. You're not reading between the lines when you're an infant.
Not a lot of nuance.
But basically, you behave correctly, you get rewarded with love. You behave incorrectly, love is withheld. to them. You're not actually withholding love from them, but they're being punished for bad behavior.
Right.
But to a baby, like a small child, it's basically the same thing.
Okay.
But to them it's transactional. I do the good thing, I get rewarded. I do the bad thing, I get it taken away.
Okay.
So then as you go into adolescence, I should back it up there also. You're also like dealing with the people who are around you. So nature versus nurture comes into effect here. You're around your family. That's who you're dealing with, and they are setting these guidelines for you and how you associate it. Then you bump into adolescence. You're going to school. You now have peers, other adults you're dealing with, teachers, coaches.
Society starts to play a role.
Or when you get like a job as a teenager, dealing with your coworkers, your boss. Society is now playing a role. So these different social settings will dictate how you view relationships and love. So if you have a good parents and you got out of childhood and parents unconditionally love you, it's non-transactional, you're getting out of that phase. Mm-hmm. Then you get around like your friends. Like I said, think of the concept of you have that friend who only came around when they wanted something from you.
Mr. Beneficial.
Yeah, you eventually your friend group, if the rest of you are kind of like well adjusted and have good relationships, will eventually kind of weed him out.
Ostracize that person.
He gets ostracized.
Naturally.
And then it's like I use the sports concept. If you're, Mr. Big Stats, you're only there because you want to put up big numbers and you could care less if the team wins or not. Mm-hmm. There's a chance the team will eventually ostracize him and find a way to make him look like a clown or get him in trouble at practice and like kind of turn on him.
Yeah.
There's ways like in a team sport you can kind of fuck the star player over. So it's like he learns to be humbled or probably doesn't and still has a big head and goes on. Same with like jobs or school. You get in trouble at school, you get punished. Jobs, you get fired. These are things that are supposed to like help correct you if you have a good foundation. If not, you're probably just going to keep doing this shit over and over again because you're not developing. So like if you didn't have conditional love, if you had conditional love growing up, you're going to keep carrying that into
Everything
adolescence.
Transactional.
Yes. So like if you're neglected as a baby, neglected as a kid, and you didn't have your needs met, you're going to look at life. You're going to keep looking at lens in that conditional transactional thing.
I did this. This has to be the result.
Yes. So then whenever you get into adult and you're dealing with kids in like high school and stuff, and like you're a teenager, and you're going to keep looking at life through that lens where, what can I get out of people? I do the thing, I get rewarded. I don't do the thing, I get punished.
Yeah.
You're going to keep living that way. And the term for that is arrested development, where you basically keep the mindset of like a teenager, even into adulthood.
Okay.
So like if you're an adult and you tell me you don't believe in unconditional love, chances are you were raised not ideally, then you started falling through the cracks as a teenager, and you became like almost hyper independent or in survival mode.
And like you fail to develop
avoidant,
that level
probably
of
avoidant
nuance.
attachment style.
Yeah.
And that's something where they don't understand what non-transactional love is. So if you're trying to give that person unconditional love, they don't even know what it is. And they can't give that back to you. So you are filling their cup up, but they are not putting it back in your cup.
Okay.
And there's like a hole in yours. It's just,
You fill my cup up.
yeah, it's just like, I keep pouring stuff in there, but like it doesn't fill up because you're pouring it all into theirs.
Okay. So once you gain the next level of understanding and work into adulthood, all right, so let's get back onto the good track there. Mm-hmm. Your childhood was good. Your parents showed up. They gave you unconditional love. You take that into society, and now that level of nuance starts to play whenever society gets involved. Mm-hmm. And now when you transition to adulthood, you're giving love freely. Mm-hmm. Because it's not because in any way, shape, or form something will be reciprocated, but because it is the right thing to do.
Because it's the right thing to do, and by doing that, you will probably create a peer group that is similar. Mm. And then, like the idea, like you said with us, like if you have a friend group that's like this, or like even if you find a relationship like this, the idea is like giving the love is like it's like an unspoken agreement.
Okay.
Like we just do things for each other, and then the love coming back being reciprocated is like icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Like it's extra. Like it's an unspoken thing. Unconditional love is like unspoken. I'm going to do this for you because I want to do this for you.
Yeah.
And whether you give me anything monetary or like physical in return doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's not a part of the equation.
Like it just doesn't matter. But if you're with somebody who's conditional or they fully expect you to return the favor.
I did this for you. You have to do this for me. Or
And it usually turns into like a thing where you have to do exponentially more for them than they're going to do for you.
Why is that? Why do they make an imbalance on it?
I think that comes back
If
to
they're so focused on it being transactional and fair, why are they not keeping an accurate tally? Why do they not have an abacus?
an abacus. Because like I said, I think my theory is that this is a person who is going to come from a bad childhood, probably has an avoidant attachment style, and that goes with setting unfair boundaries.
Resource guarding.
Resource guarding, there's a level of delusion there. Maybe they're putting more of a higher importance on what they are doing for you than what you are doing for them, because their vision of that is just skewed. It's not healthy.
But typically it's going to end up being imbalanced.
It's going to end up being imbalanced, and it's going to be a power balance where they come out on top.
Okay.
It is very capitalistic.
It is.
Because like because doing it fair wouldn't give them an advantage. So like if you're just doing tit for tat, I do this, like I gave you $10 last week, then I'm gonna give you $10. But that would just leave us even. They're not coming out on the winning end.
They see it as a zero-sum game.
Yes, it's a scarcity mindset. They need to come out on top.
Okay. So they have to be winning in this situation.
Yeah, it's not just about being even with you. They have to get ahead of you.
They have to get more resources than they're putting into the system.
Yeah. And I think that comes from like neglectful childhood, avoidant attachments. You know,
Fuck, that is
probably
so bold to ask someone on a first date, though.
Oh yeah. Because it's kind of a trick because they probably aren't thinking about it in that level of deepness.
No, 0%.
But
But I mean, if their go-to reaction is, "Oh, love is conditional," then it's like,
I don't think you need to. You believe them.
and you start conditioning this Olive Garden bill up in half, and
Yeah.
I'll never talk to you again.
Uh-huh.
So spot your red flags, kids. So, love has to be unconditional. If it's conditional, is it even love?
No.
Is love even real?
Well, the conclusion I come to on this blog and when I was doing it was like, yeah, I mean, objectively, yeah, I think it's real. But I don't think it's what we necessarily want it to be or envision it to be.
It's not Ryan Gosling movies.
It's
It's not
like,
Hallmark movies.
like it's not Hallmark movies.
It's not Kissing in the Rain.
It's not Kissing in the Rain. It's not sitting with a boombox in their backyard playing their favorite love song and then they come running out. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's not meeting them at the airport to stop them dramatically before they go on their trip to New York. It's not these big grand gestures. It's not makeup sex. It's not Kissing in the Rain. Because it's like if it got to that point, it's probably toxic anyways.
What is it then? What are the good signs of it?
I think there has to be that initial spark.
Okay.
Has to be something there. But then I think it comes down to you align in values. I did a scientific equation. It's values plus choice plus time.
Values.
You
plus
share
choice.
values. You make a choice. You consistently make the choice to be with that person over time.
Okay.
That equals love.
It just doesn't seem like there's enough to it, though.
A little too broad.
A little too broad. I think there's more elements to it. And that's why me and the scientists down the lab have come up with this equation.
We have scientists?
Yeah, we have a whole staff.
Oh wow, I'm really out of touch.
I understand that you're just the pretty face that gets the viewers here. Don't wink at the camera.
I mean, you
Don't
told
do
me
that.
you're the one telling me that's what my job is. I'm just doing my job at this point. Hey,
Stop. Pay attention.
all right. Educate me.
So me and the scientists in the lab have come up with this equation. And this is the scientific proof for love. So
Okay.
Love
The formula.
It is a
The
formula.
love potion.
The love potion.
Clinically average love potion.
Shit, write that down. Write that down.
Copyright
Write
that.
that down. Okay. So love is equal to the sum of our values. Oh man, what is this? Our values plus choices represented by lambda, plus our time, or change in time, the time that we invest, over mimetic desire plus our 3-month rule. We're going to take that to the exponent of the derivative of unconditional love over the derivative of conditional love.
Okay.
Times that by our childhood trauma represented by theta to CT, plus our emotional intelligence, which is the result of the sum of all of our relationships. And then we're going to divide that over, what is this last variable? I couldn't even find it. Our infatuation value.
Oh. Now, I'm assuming that's going to be on the screen for them to see.
Yeah, probably, because no one's going to understand this.
That was big for me.
But I mean, it pulls in all these things that we talk about in every little aspect, and they all have a value into this, and trying to develop this thing we call love. I believe in a thing called love.
I believe in a thing called love.
And now that I have mathematical proof of it, I kind of have to.
Did you take into account the power of throat goats in that equation?
We don't love throat goats. Throat goats and love are not equivocal, all right? I can't have you fall in love with throat goats.
But
Stop.
it's happened. I've been throat goated into love.
Yeah. No, you've been infatuated by the throat goat. You don't love the throat goat. That's not love. We just spent 2 hours talking about this. You should know this.
You're right. I'm just being silly.
We love to love the throat goat, but we need to learn how to hate to love the throat goat.
Yeah.
We have to love to hate these throat goats. They're not good for us. This is bad.
You're
It's
right.
a bad lifestyle
Throat
to live.
goats are inherently, it's infatuation because like infatuation's, fast cars.
Oh. Fucking fast cars, fast women, fast money, Corvettes, cocaine, Tom Brady. This is what it is.
Did you have that ready?
Huh?
Did you have that ready?
No.
But don't throw Tom Brady in there. He's secure attachment style. He's big brain. He's boss. You need like a bad quarterback.
What would be a better example?
What about like Johnny Football?
He is Corvettes.
And he's even skis in your jeans. Plays for the Browns. Well,
Ugh.
played.
played.
He's not in the league. He's not in the league
CFL.
anymore.
Well, that's what happens when you party with fast women, fast money, cocaine, Corvettes,
throat
and
goats.
not Tom Brady. Throat goats. Don't love throat goats.
Learn to love to hate throat goats.
Love to hate the. I miss them. I love throat goats. You're right.
No, you just
No,
told
I
me.
think you're right.
You just admonished me for that. You didn't?
Yeah, I think you're right, though.
No.
I'm going to get me a throat goat.
No throat
I'm
goats.
going to find a throat goat right
No
now.
throat goats, no.
I'm going to find a throat goat.
No.
Ah!
Gonna put you on. How far are we into this?
Oh, we're done.
Oh, we're done. We're done.
We're an hour. We've
All right.
been an hour. And
All right,
Wait.
'cause-
Yeah, we spilled over.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're right on time.
We gotta cool you. I gotta go hose you down.
I'm going to find a throat goat and fishnets and tattoos and maybe a couple face piercings and colored
No.
hair.
No.
If you see a girl on Tinder with colored hair, you should swipe right and ruin your life. She will love you.
That rhymes.
She
No,
will love
no,
you.
no.
She will love you.
No.
She loves me.
No, that's
I
not
love
love.
her.
That's not love. That is textbook infatuation. I'm sorry I even brought throat goats up. I shouldn't even brought throat goats up.
Fuck.
So you guys can, if you don't want to obsess over throat goats,
You know what I love?
no. No. You should follow us, like and subscribe on all the major platforms we're on. You need to calm down, and we'll try in our best to give you information
Yeah.
to help you avoid throat goats and other potential psychological traps and warfare that can be used against you. Learn to love to hate throat goats.
I need a cold shower.
Me too. I'll join you.
but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before I knew. Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I like to be away in my patience. Stay up, I feel so outdated. How can we look the other way? Sun is out, but the sky is gray. What would happen if I took a chance? It's always hard at first glance. I don't wanna, but I know I gotta do it. The truth is hard to swallow, I think I'll chew it. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew